Let me make sure it's live on the page to make sure that we're good. All right, I think we're on. There we go. I got the notification now. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. This is our weekly Tuesday Talks. I am Carmen, the Director of Development here at NAMI Greater Houston. So today we have a very special guest, Miss Alicia, that I've been knowing for a while. So if you guys have any questions or any comments, just put it on the chat and then we'll be able to address them. This is a 1 hour long conversation, so feel free to chime in at any time. But Alicia, thank you for joining our NAMI Greater Houston Tuesday Talks. We're very excited to have you. So tell everyone just a little bit about who you are and your background, and then we can get started.
Yes, Carmen, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. Like, this is such definitely I'm grateful for this opportunity. Definitely in an attitude of gratitude. So to tell you a little bit about me, I was born and raised in the multicultural city of Houston, Texas. And for as long as I knew, entertaining and encouraging others was always something that was very meaningful to me. It was something that made my soul very happy. So I knew from a young age what I was going to be involved in. I was in my first play by the time that I was literally in first grade. So from there, I knew what my heart really desired, entertaining and encouraging. So after I graduated from high school, shortly after that, I became a high fashion model. And later on after that, then I worked my way into becoming a commercial actress as well. So moving on to modeling, commercial acting, and then also making a segue into TV and film, because that has been my goal. Literally, I believe you got to make a goal, you got to set it. And just to talk about the one that is most relevant now, in 2015, when I was in Los Angeles, California, I had a job that consumed most of my time, and I knew that I needed to make the time to make my dreams continue to happen, because that job was only modeling and I wanted so much more. So in life, you have to know when it's time to take one thing that you love so much and just sit it to the side for a moment. Because if you've put so much effort and energy into it, that's something that is kind of manifesting and creating itself because you put so much love into it. So we have to move on, and we have to know when it's time to say, let go of this. I know it was great and fantastic, but you got to do what you need to do to get what you want, because that was a job that really took care of every single thing that I needed and more. And I
Right.
left that to start waiting tables and auditioning, because I knew that I had to have that in my life. And at the time, there was a sermon by Bishop T.D. Jakes, and talked about sometimes you got to look real stupid to everybody else to get what you want out of life. And
I
going
like that. I like that.
right, and that was my ultimate motivation, because at the time I left the job that was amazing to go wait tables and go on auditions, and
Right.
nobody else understood it, nobody else got it, because I was also in my 30s by then. But I understood it and I got it. In life, you got to make a plan for yourself, a purpose and motivation for what you need to do. And at the end of the day, it's about giving 100% to yourself, because once
Right.
you do that, you can give that to anybody else.
And
So
one thing that you mentioned is, you had your goal, you had your plan. So I know a lot of people struggle with kind of and that's how I know Alicia, everybody that's watching, is the modeling side and the acting and the audition. She actually helped me this last summer for taking her talent and sharing some of the techniques for acting, and kind of I do that on the side. But your mental health throughout that process, it can go up and down because you get a lot of rejections, you get a lot of ups and downs. Tell us a little bit about how you manage just coping with staying positive with still the vision that you had and the goal that you had aligned.
such a beautiful question. And what I'll say to that is, first I want to talk about what I don't recommend. And what I don't recommend is developing thick skin. Because, because we've been doing this a long time.
Right.
Go through the process to where you develop thick skin. And it's like, oh, it's okay. You can reject me. You can reject me. You can reject me. But developing that thick skin can also make you emotionally numb. So what I think we should do is it's all about creating a different perspective. For example, you got to get to a point to where you love the nose. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Instead of being daunted and disappointed, which I have done, especially there's a whole process for those of you that don't know. You get an audition, you go on the audition, you get a call back, you get the call back, then you're on hold, and then there's a possibility that you may never get anything at all. And that can be harsh. But when you love every bit of the process, and this is not just in acting and modeling, and I know that we go through it more in this industry, we do.
Right.
But really with any people who go on an interview, it's the same process that you go through. That's why people get a job, they want to keep it, they don't want to move on to the next because they don't want to go through the interview process when they're definitely beyond capable of what they're currently doing. So
Right.
love the nose. Take rejection and look at rejection as something that is going to build you and make you more confident and make you more bold. And then also, I mean, sometimes it just wasn't for you.
Right. So at what point did you feel that you had gained kind of that internal confidence, because we do hear a lot, we do hear, oh, grow a thick skin, because you do get rejected a lot. But at what point did you feel confident that you had gotten to that point internally that you felt, you know what, I am confident enough that if the rejections come to me in whatever aspects of angles in my life, I'm able to still think positive and remain that healthy, positive state of mind?
So I would say that happened to me literally in 2013. It's so crazy that I can remember exactly. So at that time, I was a spokesperson for the Chevrolet Corvette, and the Corvette completely redesigned their vehicle and made it a Stingray, which hadn't happened for a long time. Anybody who knows cars knows that. And everything that I'd ever dreamed of happened with this particular position. So what it literally comes down to is you believing in what you want, you saying what you want, and you making it happen. Because with this position, I can remember I had a little plaque in my room, and it said, "One pair of shoes changed my life." I've always believed in fairy tales. I truly believe that you have to believe in the greater dream of life and the miracles that do happen if you want to see them manifest in your own life. And I had this plaque that said, "One pair of shoes changed my life." And so when I stepped out on this vehicle, and I did what I had to do. I got to train with the engineers literally before it happened. And they were just like, "We want her script. We want her script." And everybody was like, "She's not scripted." It's like, "What do you mean there's no script? She is just doing what she does. If you listen, it's different every time." And after this moment, this is when I traveled abroad and when I started doing presentations in French and German. And here's the thing about this. You got to build yourself up to your highest level that you can possibly be to know that nothing else matters after that. So when I started traveling abroad, they didn't ask me to learn French or German, but I wanted to. That's just what I wanted to do. And the day that I stepped out there on that Corvette, I had on a pair of Valentino shoes, which I still have, and they look like black studded diamonds. And there's my plaque to put the story together. One pair of shoes changed my entire life because I believed it, because I put that up, and because I envisioned it. You need a vision board, you need a vision wall, you need a vision book. Because there's a simple thing, you can call it God. And yes, I believe in the great source power that has created us all and invested that power within us. But at the same time, God rewards a diligent hand. So if I want a miracle, then I have to do everything that it takes to put myself in position for that miracle. And I believe that's what life is. I believe that's what booking auditions are, because when you literally have thousands of people that go after one job and you finally get it, what happened? You are in position for a miracle.
Absolutely. So now after kind of, experiencing all that, you now have become an author. You now
Okay.
have become an author. So share how the title of your book came about. Share with everyone what your book is about. And I mean, I'm excited to hear. I purchased this book. I started reading it, and it's so inspirational. And I think that's one thing that, since we met long time ago, even just, through our modeling gigs, you were very positive and inspirational. And I think you've continued that even now. You just kind of elevated into another platform of that positivity.
Oh, girl, thank you. Oh, I love that's awesome. Like, thank you just for saying for what you did. That's absolutely amazing. So, my book is called Heaven on Earth is Now. So, let me tell you one thing. How long have I been writing this book and putting it together? Technically speaking, a whole decade. Because when I was in my late 20s, and it was more so mid 20s, I kind of figured out and started calculating who I wanted to be. This change really came about when I moved to LA. I was 26. Like the self realization, self reflection, self awareness. And I really wanted to see the things that I was doing to impede and to stop and to be a roadblock to my ultimate dreams, because we all have dreams,
Right.
but we're all at a certain place before we get to those dreams. And the only body who can put up a roadblock really is ourselves. So it's emotional and thoughts. So I really started reflecting on myself. So the preface of this book came about, I would say, in 2007 when I moved to Los Angeles, because it's a place of self-reflection.
Right.
And I knew, maybe 2010, I knew I was going to write a book. I mean, absolutely no doubt about it. I just knew I was going to write a book. And someone said to me, and for those of you that are listening, or for those of you that can share with someone who are thinking that they want to write a book, what you need to do is every great and brilliant thought that you have, you need to write it down. Every time you have a brilliant thought, write it down.
Right.
So
Right.
when this pandemic happened, it was like, I'm not driving to Austin or Dallas all the time. I'm not busy, audition, remote, do it myself. I had so much time to focus on it. So I really just, in the beginning of the pandemic, when we were stuck at home and I didn't understand this thing as much and I didn't do anything at all,
Right.
there was a part of me that was like losing my mind. So I decided, what am I doing? And what am I waiting on? Put all of that effort and energy into something. And for those of you that are listening, that's about mental, that's about your health there. Because if you find yourself going in a direction where you feel like you're losing your mind, first and foremost, there is nothing wrong with you. You're
Right.
not sick. You really ill is you're not ill either. It's really about bringing awareness to something, and you don't have to put yourself in a category, but you change the thought and you say, okay, well, if I'm feeling bad, let's do something else. So let's put this book together. And so I just started taking all the pieces, and I've been working on the book for a few years prior to that as well. So let's say that was 2000, it's just recently. So 2020 when I started writing it. But what I found in the midst of me writing it, I had some pages in my old MacBook as well. So I took all that, put it together, and I created it because my life hasn't always been easy. You know, some
Right.
people can see me with this jolly, bright personality. Well, your life has always been just amazing. You know, look at you. Look at the way you look.
Right.
Like
Right.
I'm pretty sure people have been over backwards for you. Everything has been wonderful, but that's not necessarily the situation for anybody who looks a certain way, because all different people go through different experiences. And those experiences can have such heavy weight on how you feel about yourself. And for
Right.
those of you that are listening, don't judge yourself based upon the things that you've gone through. That's circumstantial reasoning, circumstantial evidence. Ultimately, who are you and how will you rise above? And ultimately, and you know, the people in life who make it to really high levels, they've gone through a lot, like Oprah Winfrey. I mean,
Yeah.
she's one of my
and
heroes.
and we talked about that before getting on this, as far as your own personal struggles and how you overcame that. And I thought about you when we first, started the new year, for you being kind of the first guest on our Tuesday talks, because I think you nailed it. When people look at, especially in the industry of acting or modeling, it just seems everything so perfect and so easy, but it's not. It's the struggle of, everyone struggling when it comes to the issue of really overcoming those struggles and really learning how to acknowledge when you are struggling, because a lot of people really do not feel that you have those struggles, and you have. So I definitely want to talk about that after we talk a little bit about the book, about your own personal struggles and how you really overcame that. And looking back, how, because you had arranged such a positive, strong mental health internally, and it took years to do that. And as you're working on that, it helped you, overcome those struggles.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about how the name of the book came about.
So the name of the book came about because I was raised Southern Baptist, and I was always taught within the foundation of the church that I went to that heaven was a place in which I had to work extremely hard in this lifetime if I wanted to get a pass to get in. I had to repent all the time for my humanistic ways that are natural. And eventually, one day, I'm going to be at the gates and I'm going to see if I get in. And my whole preface of the book is really to say that I can't say there's not a heaven, but I
Right.
don't know if there really is because I haven't been. I'm not here to negate, debate, or deny. All I want to say is that I don't want to spend the time that I have on in this sweet world talking about a place I've never seen and I've only heard about. And another reflection of that, that is one aspect of why I named that the title. And the other aspect is because I watch people. I was also told in that church that hell is somewhere else. But throughout my lifetime, I've watched people live in hell and heaven right in front of me. I've watched myself live in emotional hell of choices that I've made and emotional heaven of other choices that I've made. So why I say heaven on earth is now. If you want your bliss, you can have it right now. And right now, it starts with the choices that we make because it's Newton's third law of motion. It's universal principle. What you give, you receive. You reap what you sow. So that's where the title of the book came from.
Got it. So tell me about a story that, or something personal that you wanted to share in the book that maybe you second guess if you should kind of share, that
Oh,
story within the book. Is there anything specific?
yes, yes. Okay, so number one, in my family, Jesus is a very important name. And I managed to not mention Jesus one single time. And it's not because I question the story of Jesus, but I believe there's power in the name Jesus because people have invested. So if you put power into something, then that something is going to give you power back. So I truly believe there's power in the name Jesus, but I question the story of Jesus. And this is something, family, if you're listening, I love y'all. But this is just it's whoa, this is like my coming out. I'm coming out the closet right now, even just being more clear about what I mean. And I don't invest my power in Jesus, and my personal reason why, there's nothing with anyone else who does. And the reason
Right.
why I don't is because I don't think I need an external source to connect me to the primary source that made me. Like the way I live my life, my connection is with God. And I've been through a lot of things that made me make that choice as well. Like, if you don't accept this, then you're not going to get this. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Right.
You're telling me
Right.
I'm not going to be saved. I can't do it. So my direct connection is with God. I don't need any other means or story to get me there. I've heard a lot of them. And I do believe that if you live your life as what would Jesus do, you will be blessed. Because Jesus, the story of Jesus, made some good stories. That, like I say, I will question the story, honey, but I don't question the glory. If I
Right.
do what Jesus did, it's going to be fantastic. And also, the way that my book opens, I talk about the universe, the
You
most
do.
powerful. And that's
You
not,
you begin with that.
I do. And I explain that God is a celestial force governed by universal laws. That's my belief. See, I feel that in a world of infinite possibilities, why can't we all have our own belief? If it makes me happy to believe that, let me have it. But the reason why I've never really told this to many more people is because I don't want them to think that I'm hammering down on them. Because when it comes to religion, for most people, you got to believe this way. I don't accept your way. This is my way. And
Right.
I,
So one thing you taught me over the summer, even when we were just kind of teaching just the acting techniques that were very helpful. I text you all the time about that. But you also talked about the power of your thoughts.
yes.
So explain that to our viewers as far as the meaning on controlling those powers of your thoughts and how to manifest
Yes.
positive
Yes.
reactions from that.
Yes. Let's do it. Okay. So it's called your reticular activating system. See, I like to move beyond mysteries, which is what I was, to actually understanding how the body works. Our bodies are so magnificent. So your reticular activating system is a system within your mind. And the way that system works, it is going to convince you that you are true in every regard that you believe that is right. And what I mean by that, if you decide that people are a certain way, okay, your reticular activating system is going to bring your attention to people that are that way. See, your reticular activating system is the gatekeeper to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is where it's where you flowers bloom. It's where your
Right.
realities come into fruition. So you've got your conscious mind, you've got your reticular activating system, and you got your subconscious mind. Your conscious mind, most of the time, it's not paying attention. You want to know why your conscious mind is not paying attention? Because you aren't paying attention.
Right.
You see, your conscious mind is so much stronger than the subconscious mind, but most of the time, we're thinking about things that happened in the past, something that happened yesterday that has no power. We spend our time and focus on things that have no power, while the subconscious mind, every single thing that you put your attention on and focus on, your subconscious mind receives like 99% of the information that happens around you.
Right.
The brain processes 400 billion bits of information per second. 400 billion bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind gets it. But we're only aware of 2,000 of those bits, which involve environment, space, time, what's happening around us. So if you live your life unconsciously, focus on things you don't want. This is how your fears become your reality, because this is your reticular activating system allows things into your subconscious mind, but it's not a gatekeeper. It's not going to determine, is this good or is this bad? This is
Right.
exactly how we get more of what we don't want, because the brain has no capability without you, without us. The brain cannot determine the difference of what's happening in reality or what we're remembering in our mind. There have been tests. If you hook somebody up to a system and make them physically think about this experience that they went through, their body is going to create the exact same impulses it did as if it went through that.
Right. So another point that you also are very good at acknowledging is the importance of self-love
Mm-hmm.
and how those thoughts can actually, deflect and become negative when it comes to self-love. So what would you tell someone as far as, when those thoughts and minds are overpowering, that they become negative thoughts? What are some, I don't want to say tips. Well, what did you learn in your process?
You know what I'm going to tell you? What you have to recognize is it's just the thought and it's not you.
Mhm.
So, in
Right.
addition to recommending my book to read, there's another book, The Untethered Soul. It if if you see a thought, which is in your mind, it's happening, okay? It's intangible, but thoughts come up. They only gain power if we jump on for the ride, okay? So there are thoughts going on up here all the time. And with all
Right.
those thoughts happening, we decide which thought we're going to jump on and ride. And if we jump on that thought takes us for a ride. So you have to tell yourself, no, no, no. Fear, no. I'm not trying to ride you today. Okay. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to ride you today. Anxiety. Nope. I don't think so. You can go park it in the garage. You shouldn't be taking anybody for a ride.
heard this in another webinar that I was watching, as far as talking to those thoughts. I think I was in a Bible study, and someone mentioned that as far as when those negative thoughts come and overtake, or wanting to overtake, to talk to those thoughts. Have you done that, as far as like talking to those
Yes,
thoughts to leave your
yes,
mind? Okay.
yes, absolutely. And talking to them with no real, well, yes, talking to them. I was going to say with no real passion, but depending
Right.
on who you are, you might want to add that. This is the way I've analyzed it before. You're in the kitchen, minding your business, and there's a knock at the door. And it's fear. And you're like, now, when you react that way to fear, guess what? You have given fear power. But here we go. The other scenario, fear. I don't think so. I'm not coming out there today. You're not coming in here. Not today. This is just not the time. So it's all about how you address it.
Right. And I think that's what it is. It's really controlling those negative voices and being able to acknowledge when those voices come into play, that
Mm-hmm.
you know how to react so they don't, take over. Um, let's talk about a little bit as far as the stigma with mental health, within our community over the years. What do you think would be something that we can do as far as just a community to kind of help alleviate a little bit of that negative stigma when it comes to just talking about positivity and mental health and self-care?
Um, One thing that I think that would be helpful is if more people that have experienced it would come to light with it and share about it. Because some of those that talk about, oh, you don't need to go sit down with this, but like, being of the African American community, I didn't get myself a therapist for forever because you don't want to sit down with a quack. No, you're not sitting with a quack. That's crazy. That's crazy. Don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. And it's just conversations I've heard. And then I got myself one, and life couldn't be better just because it's magnificent. It's if you're going through the pain and you don't have the people in your life that you can talk to, then you need to find somebody else. That's just the bottom line.
Right.
Because I didn't
Right.
get one for forever because honestly, in my family, that's not something that you talk about, and it's not something that's okay. And if anybody in my family is watching, y'all need to go get a therapist right now too. Because we're
Right.
the same place.
No, we laugh about that. I think it's a cultural, background, and even
It is.
previous Facebook talks that we've had as far as within our community, especially, I mean, for me, within the Latino community, you just don't talk. And I think now that we're seeing, with the midst of the pandemic, and people are sharing their struggles and their own insecurity, and depression has risen, and just anxiety has risen. I think that's definitely kind of the appropriate way to be able to just share your story. I mean, at this point, is you're almost like letting that out because everyone's going to be kind of struggling and overcoming. And I think it's just a matter of, you connecting when you hear that story, that you connect with yourself in order to be able to just grow. So I
Right.
definitely, yeah.
Every now and then you need to have a conversation with somebody you've never had before. Maybe you can't talk about everything to everybody. Maybe you need to go sit down and talk about some things because what happens is the weight of emotions that come upon you that you have not discussed, or you've discussed them with people who do not answer you in the best way, and it leaves you feeling even more confused than before. One thing I will tell you, the next time you ask somebody advice, I need you to make sure that they have it going on in their life, in that dynamic, whatever you're asking for. If you want a specific thing, look at the person that is doing that thing and then ask advice. Don't ask your friend who's not doing it either.
Right. So we have a question here, a comment. How does Alicia handle her self-care? I don't know if it's
Oh,
handling,
how
but
do I handle my self-care? The
yeah.
answer to that, well, I don't okay, so take care of yourself. Okay, so I'm 40 years old. So if you want to know the answer, so you've asked the prime time person, how do you take care of yourself? Because yes, 40 years old. So I started modeling 20 years ago, and I've always done certain things like I get chemical peels, I do microdermabrasions, I do micro needling. Now, I don't do the micro needling at the shop because I've got my own micro needle. I do most of this stuff at home. So I do my own peels these days because once I've gone to them so many different times, I see how to. So so let's talk about microdermabrasions, the chemical peels, deep brilliance treatments. So
Right.
what they do is they go deep into the pores of your skin and it rejuvenates your skin. So there's no wonder that I look like this at 40 years old, because I have done necessary things to ensure that my collagen production is increased. For example, I have a skincare line and it's called Shea Custard. That's SHEACUSTARD. And one of my favorite products, of course, they're all my favorite. I make them, but one of my favorite is going to be it's the mask. It's a everyday glow mask. And this mask, because of the ingredients that are in there, which are all natural, when you take it off, my face is completely red, like, and it's completely red. So but at the same time there's no downtime, so it's going to stay red about 10 to 15 minutes at the most. But because it's completely red, my collagen is like, oh my goodness, we need to make more. Oh my goodness. See, you got to trick your collagen. It's all about tricking your collagen into believing that it has been damaged in some way, because this moment that that happens, it creates maintenance. So moisturize. I moisturize from head to toe when I get out the shower, head to toe, moisturize. So it's not about spending a whole lot of money, because that's not necessary, but it is about doing the things that are necessary to make your skin look fabulous, because that is ultimately reflects your skin. What are you doing to your skin?
Got it. And then we'll put the information on the chat and on the comment that you can get a little bit more information about your wonderful skincare. I completely forgot that you had launched that, and it seems like it only just makes you glow even more.
Thanks. So.
So we have a question here as far as how did she become a life coach? What is the definition of a life coach?
Okay, so let's see. I became a life coach. I want to say it was around middle school or maybe even elementary school. I know I'm being a little sarcastic here, but I've always been the mother goose. I've always been the one to help others. And I know where that comes from. So my hero, her name is Alice Newton Kemp. If you get the book, Heaven on Earth is Now, the opening dedication is to her, because everything that I esteem to be is everything that she was. Alice and Alicia actually have the same meaning. So when I was a kid growing up, I spent my time around her. I wasn't interested in running around with other kids. I was interested in sitting around and doing whatever this woman did, because she meant so much to me. So that's the reason why I have so much knowledge to pass along. It's not because I just came into this world with this in my mind. No, it's the woman who I spent so much time with. And I watched the way that she would treat people and love on people. She treated everybody like a president and a first lady. It didn't matter if you were homeless. It didn't matter if you lived in the biggest house on the block. Everybody was a president and a first lady. She treated every single person with grace. So listening to her, learning from her, I know that's what gave me the capability to nurture people even at such a young age. So
Right.
in 2006, I became a motivational speaker. And as an expansion of that, the life coach, the life coaching happened when people would hire me for acting and modeling jobs, even sometimes, like for help, and it became completely life coach. Like it wasn't anything about the other. They needed me for this specific thing. And as an extension of that, I just got so many people who have given me references, and now people know, like the life coaching, when you become something, that something will become a part of you, and you don't even have to promote yourself for it. So now people can come to me directly for that, because it's a part of me, but it evolved as a part of who I was to nurture and to love on people.
That makes total sense. So, yeah, I think that's amazing because I think it's your passion of what you were doing outside of that, then also generated, you be able to become inspirational and be able to coach other people on how to just enhance their life, because that's basically what it is. What can you do to find happiness, to enhance the happiness with everything that you're going through in your life? So hold on, I had another comment here really quick. So how does a person that's always motivating or inspired to help others motivates herself? What do you do to motivate yourself?
Well, so I have to create a plan for the day. I need to have an agenda. I need to have things to do. So I need to have my things to do list. And I also need to have my reminders. Things to do are things that truly need to get done. If I need to go by the post office, that's something that needs to get done. If I need to go by the grocery store, that needs to get done. If I need to submit an audition, that needs to get done. Okay, so things to do is most important. Reminders are things that you love to do. Like I play the violin and I have to make a reminder for myself. Make sure you play the violin. Make sure you read today. You don't have to read today, but reading today is fantastic. So little thing, if you want to draw, make sure you draw today. So things to do, which must get done, most important at the top. And if everything doesn't get done, that's okay. Okay.
Right.
You got this list of things that need to get done. And now those other things will either go to the top of tomorrow's list or stay at the bottom, depending upon how important they are. And the reminders is just like remind yourself of what you love and enjoy to do. If you need to study your acting, if you are in accounting, if you're in school, things that reminders, things that you love, things that
Right.
need to get done. Let's get it done. So I have to give myself a list of things that need to get done, and I have to remind myself when I wake up in the morning, what am I waking up for? So tonight I will make my things to do list, and then tomorrow I will know exactly what I'm waking up for.
That makes total sense. And I think that also keeps you aligned.
Mm.
I'm a planner at heart. If I don't have, you should see my desk right now. If I don't have a plan and a schedule, it gives me anxiety when I don't have it outlined because it's almost like checking the box little by little. But it does help. It helps me. And my friends always make fun of, oh, you're always planning everything, but that's how my mind works. I can't envision the next step until I have the whole
Yeah,
outline planned
no.
out. So, what would you tell someone if they're dealing with their own struggles? What would be some positive messaging that if someone comes to you for advice or sharing a struggle, what would be some of the positive, remarks that you would make to them in order for them to maintain encouraged?
So if they're dealing with a struggle, the first thing that I would say, what is it that you are feeding yourself with to blind yourself from the pain that you're feeling? So we all have pain and we can deal with it differently, and sometimes we take that pain and we mask it with drugs, alcohol, relationships that are not good for us. So what is it that you're doing to mask the pain that you feel? Because every day you wake up, you got to mask it again. It's just like, because it does keep it numb. That's the thing. Those things that you do, the drugs, the alcohol, the people, whatever it is, if it's eating, it does mask the pain, but it's never ending pain. Then you got to wake up the next day and mask it, and you got to wake up the next day and mask it, and you got to wake up like, oh Lord, how many masks are you going to put on? So you have to confront that pain for what it is. You got to
Hmm.
see if you can find reasoning why that pain happened, and then find acceptance to relieve yourself of that pain, to know that you are a part of the human race. And the sins it's, let the word sins just go. It's another reason to let it go. You're human. You're human. Let it
Right.
go. Stop blaming yourself, because it's not your fault. It's everybody's fault. We're all human, right? You're
Right.
part of the human race. Things happen.
And one thing that I've realized is, what would you besides letting it go, which I think it's at one point you have to, because living in the past and reliving those past struggles and past challenges, what would you advise for someone outside of letting it go, a way to for them to kind of envision the next step, not to stay on that past and let that past direct the future, because no one really knows the future. But what would you advise as far as
Talking.
letting go of the past, but also acknowledging the present and how to move forward from that, if it's an emotional struggle that's holding you back?
I truly believe talking to someone. I
Mhm.
truly believe talking to you, you have to talk about it. You can't suppress it. You have to express it. Because if you walk around, you see so many people that got paint on their face, the holding in stuff. Maybe you talk to the wrong person. You need to talk to somebody who's going to be unbiased. And if you can't afford to speak to someone, they have hotlines. There's literally a hotline at any given moment that you can call. And if that hotline is busy, call another. Those people are caring and enduring, and they will talk to you and they will love on you. Sometimes in any given moment, you just need to be loved on. And it doesn't matter who that person is. You just literally need to have somebody who understands you.
Right.
And family sometimes can be tough, because family can be tough. So you need someone who's not only not family, not a friend, someone who's completely impartial, and they can look at your situation with no judgment. Because people that know you are going to have judgment. People who don't know you, they're going to look at the situation for what it is, and help you to see what you need to do for yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the judgment plays a big role on that hesitation of not speaking. That's one thing that, when we're providing help within our community here at NAMI, we really stress that the you're not alone, because just like you're saying, you might feel alone, maybe physically you're alone, but they are outlets and they are resources for you to just kind of make that step to reach out. And it might take a couple of tries for you to say, okay, let me go find someone, talk to someone. Yeah, so that's something that we acknowledge and we embrace, because at the end of the day, there's even a complete stranger that you can just share whatever that may be.
It's a human, and it can be so meaningful.
So let's go back to your book. If we can show everyone the your book again, Heaven on Earth. How did the picture and the cover come about? Were you inspired by something in the front cover, or just kind of?
I thought that the clouds were kind of reflective of like heaven, and it's right here. It's just it's right here. We don't have to go there, but that's kind of what I was thinking. So I wanted something with clouds.
Did you envision? I know you talked about earlier, as far as just the book has been years in the making, as far as your thoughts and writing them down, but years ago, before you envisioned the actual book coming to life, as you were writing, was that your intention of, I will write a book one day, or it was just kind of thoughts in your mind just coming across?
No, I knew. Literally, somebody said, because I knew I was going to write a book, but I hadn't written anything, and I was somewhere. I know I said this earlier, but I was like, if you think you're going to write a book, just write every thought you have down. So that's what I started doing now, because I knew I was going to write a book. I had been blogging for a website just because I wanted to blog for them, just to see what people thought about my opinion. Of course, I thought it was brilliant, but I wanted to see what other people thought. So I blogged for this website for a little while, and then I stopped because I didn't want to give away all my material. So I was like, okay, I like these reviews. So after blogging for that website and getting everybody's opinions on what I wrote about, because it was all about self-motivation and being the best that you could be, people just loved on it so much that after that, I knew for a fact that I was going to write a book. So I just wrote everything down.
Awesome. So tell us about, I know you mentioned, as far as your love and your comes to modeling and acting, and and being in the industry for so many years. What is it, one thing or maybe a few things that you have learned, as far as just staying focused in those 20 years and staying aligned, which is continuing in that work? What are some things that you, looking back, or that you have learned, just to continue keeping in faith?
So what I'll say about that is, one of my favorite, let me make sure I plug my computer in here. Okay, so one of my favorite quotes is by the late Dr. Wayne Dyer, and you have to be independent of the good opinion of others. I would have done so many different things at this point if I would have listened to my mom and dad, who always have had the best interest out for me, the most love I've ever, I mean, amazing. They're awesome. But the bottom line is, I knew that I had to do what I wanted to do. When I graduated from high school, I wanted to move straight to LA. But my daddy, it was like a promise to him was to make sure that I always put education first. So I went to
Right.
college. And I'm grateful for that, because
Right.
that's how I can teach people everything that I do so well spoken, because I made that promise to him and I fulfilled it. But after that, they wanted to have parts and play in what I did, and they wanted something that made sense. They've been trying to get me to do something that made sense for so long now. And it just finally got to a point to where I was like, it doesn't make sense. And I moved back to Houston. So
Right.
when I moved back to Houston, you got to create different relationships. When I left LA, things were amazing because I had spent a solid time making stuff happen. When I moved back here, completely different world. I got to rebuild these relationships. And I remember my parents wanted me to do, they wanted me to do something else that was getting real estate, getting real, you can sell bacon to a pig, girl, get in real estate, that's what you need to do. And finally I had a moment where I stood up to them and I said, look, I'm not doing real estate, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I'm doing this because this is what I love and this is where my passion is, and that is the bottom line. And right after I stood up to them, the floodgates of heaven opened up. It's like boom, sag this, sag what, who say what. It was literally, that's why it is a mental game, everybody. It happens when you believe it's going to happen. And when you push everything else to the side, and when you're independent of the good opinion, because there are the naysayers, there are the ones that have bad things to say, but there are those who love you, but it's still not for you because they don't know you. So you got to
Right.
speak to what's in your heart.
I like that. I think that also can also play into, the decision to get you off track, because I believe that everyone has a passion, whatever that internal passion is of anything that they have. But if you start listening to things that won't align with that ultimate passion, it will create self-doubt, and it will create that negative thoughts of, just embarking off the road. So i
Right.
definitely i definitely do believe, you know that you need to kind of just stay within your vision and stay within your passion and stay motivated within yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let me see what else I had for you here. Okay, so let's talk about, with your acting and your modeling and just the jobs that you have booked so many, local, national, regional. Give me a moment that you felt excited, when you were confirmed for a booking that just elevated your spirit.
Yes. Okay. So it was for the Kelsey Siebold job. And for the Kelsey Siebold Clinic, this commercial has been airing for over a year now. And praise the Jesus, every time it airs, I get paid. So, but that's not only the reason there. The reason why is because, commercial work doesn't always require much of acting. It doesn't require much acting and much talent necessarily. So this job, you had to be able to cry on cue for the audition. You had to be able to create a story. You really had to be talented in order to do this. And I nailed it. And I was amazing and I was awesome. But then I almost didn't get it. And the reason why I almost didn't get it is because problem is too pretty. I would have booked a lot more commercials at this point, but it's always too pretty. I don't believe she would be at Kelsey Siebold Clinic. She wouldn't be actually sick. No. Too pretty, too young. And it's like, but no, I'm actually not young. I may look young, but young,
Right.
young, pretty people get sick as well. And so the reason why I ended up getting it, so I was going back and forth. The casting directors were calling me. They was like, I know they've given it to this other girl, but I just feel like you're gonna get it. They wanted you the most. It was one of those situations. I never had a job like this back and forth with the casting directors
Right.
calling me and talking to me. And at the very end, I had a girlfriend. I had, but not at the very end, right before the very end, I had a girlfriend tell me, so yeah, I know who got that job. And I was like, okay, that is what it is. And then finally I got a call. She had a conflict. She had done another job with a medical something. So
Right.
that's the reason why she didn't get it. And there's a part of me that just really believes that that was God giving me this job just because they said I was the most talented. They said I did the best, but I wasn't going to get it because I was too pretty. Whoa, really? Really?
Yeah, and I like that you bring that story because I feel that there's always that misconception of, even talking about mental health and self-love and just reflection. You're too pretty to not struggle. You're too pretty to not have doubts. You're too pretty to not, I mean, even in the acting world, you're too pretty to not fit this role. So what would you advise to young girls? I know you teach, and you teach a younger demographic. You also teach adults. What would you advise as far as for someone that is struggling with that image, and to showcase that you can still overcome and fight through when you're getting these perceptions of you that are really not true?
What I have to say to that is pretty always has to start from within. I
Mhm.
have a thing that I teach. I believe that anybody can be pretty because pretty is the quality and character in which you present yourself, the self care that you take care of yourself. That's what true pretty really is. The world treats prettier people better, they do. So take care of yourself. Look refined. Be that distinguished gentleman or that Southern belle. And that can be all the way around the world. Be that quality of person. Pretty starts within. And the reason why I say pretty starts within, because looking at the way that I look, yes, now I know I am pretty. And that's something that I will say. But let me tell you another thing, people that are listening, I have thought that I was ugly before. I know you think like, whoa, like how? Because true beauty starts within. It doesn't matter who you are. Pretty people have pain too. It's just this body is a figment, okay?
Right.
What's happening is happening on the inside. And that's the key there. It's happening on the inside. So create your pretty from within and build your heart and make yourself bold and really care about people.
No, I love that. I think that's definitely, especially when it comes to your overall mental health, it has to be an internal reflection, and building the strength there. People always say, "Oh, build your muscles and build your physical strength," which is very important. But the inner, to me, is the most important, as far as just making sure that you keep that and you maintain that inner strength.
Right.
And I think that's definitely, I love that you mentioned that story because I can envision all the back and forth. We've been there. You're almost close to the end, and it's, it creates, it's an exciting moment if you're in that field, to kind of get that and know that you you showcase that talent, that you were able to show, I can fit what they're looking for, and bring that story to life. So I think that's definitely beautiful.
Thank you.
So let's talk about, which platforms, where can we get your Heaven on Earth Now book?
You can just Google it. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Google Books. You can get it on Barnes and Noble. I mean, you can pretty much get it on all of the platforms that are available.
Okay, awesome. So we'll be putting that also on the chat, where you can get it. A few of you guys were putting the link there. So as we wrap up on the last few minutes of our Tuesday talks, what's next step for you? What is your next vision in your plan there? Because I know you have things lined up.
I do. Okay, and let me check my charger because it's acting funny right now. I see why. Okay, we're all set. Okay, so what's next on my vision is my next book, which is called Live Your Life by Design. So my book is a part of a 3-part series, Heaven on Earth is Now. Once you realize everything you've been looking for is right here and you were born with everything you ever needed and to seek within thy inner self, Heaven on Earth is Now. Then once we know that there is nowhere else to search in the world for what we want, we got it. Then we move on to find Live Your Life by Design. Plan your day and live your life efficiently. Making that agenda. So that's what Live Your Life by Design is all about, because we all have a vision, and how are we going to get to that vision? We can see it, but we got to create that journey that happens in between. And
I,
also, I want to get into corporate training. So, one thing that I started doing right before the pandemic happened is I was training the Fort Bend litigators to be more effective communicators. So, I went in to train them. And that was supposed to be something that that branched out even all around the country. But then I literally did it like the week before everything shut down because the first case happened in Fort Bend. So, like a week before everything shut down, I did that. So, I want to get into corporate training. And what I'm going to create is a program that is called Presence, to find your inner light and to let your light shine. So, another thing I recently did as well, I preached a sermon. Like, what? Huh? I did. I preached a sermon, girl. I have to send you the link to that. But,
please do.
but the message of the story is ultimately about finding your inner light and letting that light shine. Like, to be light that changes the world, to be a lighthouse to be a lighthouse for your hopes, your dreams, your ambitions, a lighthouse for people that need you that you can fill up. So that's what's going on. And then, okay, and so Heaven on Earth is Now. Live Your Life by Design is the middle book. And then,
Okay.
so once you found your heaven, once you have created the life that you want, then baby, it's time to move on up. Moving on up. That's the last one.
I love it. I'm super excited for you. I
Yeah.
think I mean you have a series of books now aligned, and that will be beneficial and inspirational and motivational. And I think those are resources and tools, that people will be able to use and elevate themselves. So I think I knew you had something else lined up. So
Always something new.
awesome. So I think we are good with, let me see, I had found a comment someone had made. Let me see if I can find it on their little group chat here. Um, what would you advise someone? No, we talked about that one. Sorry. That's the advice about mental health and struggles. Okay, so you mentioned quotes a lot. What is a inspirational quote that you live by, that you like to embrace daily, or what's a daily routine that you embrace that is effective for you?
Well, I write quotes, so of course I got to give you one of mine. And
Okay,
this one,
good.
especially just, I'm 40 years old and I'm just now making my segue into TV and film, but ultimately in my heart, I'm just getting started. So, my favorite quote that I wrote: if your dreams cannot be a reality, then why do you have the ability to imagine? Never give up. Never give up. Never give
I
up.
need that quote in a t-shirt. That is beautiful. That
Thank
is
you.
that is beautiful, because I mean, we can just have a whole hour conversation on just that one quote. We really can. We really can. I think that's beautiful. And it's the truth. It's the truth of what, what
Yes,
we dream about, what we envision, and what's aligned with what makes you happy in your life. And I think that's the main thing, to really ultimately, at whatever point in your life, you keep saying 40, but even if you're 60, if you're 70,
yes,
like I'm telling my mom right now, and some things that I know that she struggles and stuff, and I tell her, I'm like, Mom, it's not too late for you to find and release whatever you've been holding. There's no limit, and you're allowed to find that happiness, whatever that happiness means to you. So I'm kind of teaching her to not feel like, hey, you hit a certain age and it's over, because it's
right.
not. There's never any limitation on happiness.
Exactly.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I think this has been wonderful. We'll do, when your next book comes about, we'll talk about that again. Would love to kind of have you as a guest and host you again. But you gave some very, very inspirational tools and resources, and kind of those conversations. And just like you're saying, it's all about that open dialogue. If you
Yeah.
don't talk, we can't get anywhere. So I think
You,
that's definitely the beginning.
you got to call somebody, even if it starts with the 1-800 hotline. somebody will answer the phone. That 1-800 hotline can be your saving grace.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for our weekly Tuesday talks. We will be here again next week with our other special guest at 4 o'clock, which is our new time. But remember, you can watch the Facebook Tuesday talks at any time. You can share it with any of the platforms. And we also repost it on our YouTube page, our NAMI Greater Houston YouTube page. So just make sure that you can rewatch it and share it. And we would love to see you next time. So thank you, Alicia, for
My pleasure.
being a wonderful guest, and we'll talk later.
Talk later.
All right, awesome.
Bye.
Bye.